Okay, so today is our argument essay editing day. So, editing is done after you have completed draft one of your essay. And what you are going to be doing is working with three other people in class, probably somebody in your table group. Could be people from across the room, actually doesn't really matter. And everybody's going to have a job. So, what you're going to do is you are going to open up draft one of your essay. You're going to see that there's this grid at the top of your draft one, and this is not anything for you to fill out right now. This should have just stay blank while you're working on your draft one, and it's because this is for your editors to fill out. Once you know who your editors are, and I'm going to tell you when we're in class, you're going to come up here to share, and you are going to share your essay with editing privileges. You want them to be able to edit. With three people in class. Okay, so you type in their WUSD emails in here, and then you are going to share. That's going to say share, and then you're going to do that. So they have access to it. When you are editing somebody's draft, you are going to go to your shared drive and pick up their essay there. And not one person is responsible for editing an entire essay. You're all going to be responsible for editing parts of essays. Okay. Idealistically, let's say you're sitting at a table group of four, you would be editor one once, editor two once, and editor three once. You should only be looking at three essays other than your own. Okay, so let's look at these jobs. Editor one, you are responsible just for the introduction and the conclusion paragraph of that person's essay. So you're not going to read the whole thing. You are just going to look at the introduction and the conclusion, and you're going to go through those steps. Editor one, you're going to highlight their thesis or claim in blue. You're going to highlight their reasons in orange, and make sure all of that is there. Now, not only are you going to highlight these things, you're going to make sure that the information is clear and understandable. If you see problems, you're going to come over to their document, like here. Here's their introduction, right? But it's not complete. So I'm going to put a comment box. Need to finish this. Okay. Anytime I see a problem, I'm going to highlight it and put a comment on it. Comment boxes you can do by just clicking on the blue box here. You can also hit Control Alt M, and it'll pull up a comment box for you as well. Okay, so not only are you checking to make sure that they have a thesis statement, they have an introduction, you're going to make sure that they have a minimum of three reasons, that those reasons are in the order they appear in their body paragraph. So reason one, reason two, reason three should be body one, body two, and counterclaim. And if there are problems there, you're going to let them know. You're going to tell them what the problems are. You're going to make sure that the reasons they have for their argument are the topic sentences in their body paragraphs, or for the counterclaim, it's going to be the prove it wrong. Counterclaim reason 3 is prove it wrong. So that's not at the beginning of that paragraph. It's like 3 sentences down. In the conclusion paragraph, you're going to again highlight their opinion statement, their claim in blue. Let's put this here. Claim. In blue, you're going to highlight their reasons in orange, and you're going to highlight their call to action in teal. Do they actually include a call to action? Is it any good, or is it kind of like womp womp? They didn't know what to write and they just threw this away. If you've got suggestions for them, give them suggestions. Make sure that they rephrase their claim. It shouldn't be the exact same wording as it is in their introduction. And editor number 1, things that they need to work on, you can just put bullet points here like, hey, make sure you reword claim in conclusion paragraph. Give them ideas of things that they need to work on. And then whoever owns this document, whoever was the author, they can treat this like a checklist of things that they need to do. Okay. So editors, put your name, things that are going really well, things that they need to work on. Okay, editor 2, you are responsible for the body paragraphs, not including the counterclaim. So editor 2, you're doing body 1 and body 2. You're looking for their topic sentences, their evidence, their analysis, their transition or conclusion sentences. You're highlighting them to make sure that they have them. The highlighting is there literally as a check, like, is it there? But you're not just highlighting it and checking it off that it's there. You're going to read through and make sure, is there evidence clearly explained by a context? If it's missing context, like let's go over here and say that their first piece of evidence has no context. It just says the text states, and that's it. And then they give your citation. You don't have to come up with the context for them unless you have an idea. You can help them out, but you would highlight it, Control Alt M, no context before citation. Fix. That says fizz. Okay. So you're telling them what to do as you're going. Notice that for person editor 1 and editor 2, you're not typing on the document unless you are in suggesting mode. If it's a quick and easy fix, like they had a punctuation issue, you do not just type those things on here yourself because this document does not belong to you. You would come up here to see how the pencil is in editing right now, change it to suggesting, and then you can type on here and it creates a comment box for you that they can either accept or reject. Okay. But if you're just putting comments and not typing anything, you can do that in editing mode. That's fine. What you have to do in editing mode, you cannot do in suggesting, is the highlighting. You're actually highlighting their document. But you cannot change any of their wording without their permission because it's not your essay, it's their essay. All right. So editor 2, you are responsible for the body paragraphs. Make sure the evidence makes sense. Make sure the analysis is thorough. Do they clearly explain how it proves their thesis? Do they clearly explain what that evidence means? Do they have 2 sentences for analysis? Do they have at least 2 sentences for analysis? And if not, tell them. Tell them they need another sentence. Tell them they need to explain further. You might not know how they need to explain further yourself. That's okay. But you can count how many sentences there are and say, I think that you need more here, but I'm not really sure what you should put. Or I think you need more here. You need to talk about this. If you're not sure, that's okay. You can ask me, but just let them know that something's missing, and then they can ask me too. All right, editor 3, you are also going, or you are only responsible for 1 paragraph. Editor 3, you are just looking at the counterclaim. So your paragraph is a bit more confusing because it has more components, but you are identifying the counterclaim in light purple. You're going to give evidence in yellow, analysis in pink, and then the prove it wrong. This is the big guy in magenta. Do they prove the counterclaim wrong? And then again, you go back in and you look for evidence in yellow, and analysis gets highlighted in pink. And you're doing all the same things as editor 2. You're making sure their evidence and their analysis makes sense and is thorough. Do they have at least 2 sentences of analysis? And if not, tell them what they need to fix. Tell them what they need to add. If you don't know, tell them you don't know, but you know that they need another sentence. All right, that's perfectly okay. And then that is pretty much it. So make sure you read through these directions, whichever person you are, and do all the highlighting, but also provide all the feedback. It's not just about you highlighting. This is not paint by numbers. This is not coloring class. The highlighting is the first level of checking. It's just making sure they have all the parts they're supposed to. The big thing is the writing. Like, how good is it? Not just is it there, but is it done well? And so that's where you should have I should see a lot of comment boxes on the right-hand side of a draft, because it should be what you're providing as feedback for them. All right. If you're really struggling to provide the feedback, raise your hand and tell me that. Say, hey, I'm responsible for this paragraph and I don't know what to tell them. It looks fine to me. Sometimes they do a great job and you can just say, hey, awesome work. This looks fantastic. But if you're not sure, raise your hand and I'll help out, because the whole point of editing is to make your essay as strong as possible, so that when I get to it, your adult teacher who's going to be grading all of these, I give it the highest grade that it can get. All right. So make sure that you guys fill out the grid for your partners. Don't just do the highlighting on the bottom. And that's pretty much it for editing draft 1. Okay. When you are working on somebody's document, try not to have 2 people working on the same document at the same time. So let's say you're working with your table group. Don't have everybody working on person A at once. Like, have a different person on a different document at a time, because otherwise it just gets confusing with having so many people working on one space at a time. All right. So figure that out, and then you just keep going until your editing is done. Any questions? Raise your hand. Let me know.